Did you see Audrey on Good Morning America?
Well, since you instant messaged me a link of Audrey on Good Morning America.
You could have just said yes.
I did.
You could have just said, yeah, I did. Didn't everybody? Didn't everybody? I have had a very interesting last couple of weeks that I can't wait to tell you about. But first we have to talk about this issue of interesting times. Because obviously in the last podcast I referred to interesting times in relation to an anecdote that I won't even bother recalling. And I since found out I have always been using that incorrectly. I mean, I was always under the impression that to live in interesting times was a good thing. But it turns out I've been told by numerous correspondents that to say to someone, may you live in interesting times, is like a curse or wishing something bad upon them. Did you know this? Like, was this news to you, or would you have been in my camp before this?
Okay, so I thought May You Live in Interesting Times was like a story. It goes that a king asks one of his advisors to make something that will, he wants an object that will make him happy when he is sad, and it will make him sad when he is happy. And the advisor goes off and then comes back, and he brings the king a ring, and the ring has inscribed upon it, "This too shall pass." That phrase, "this too shall pass," I think of as a negating phrase. It kind of always has the opposite meaning. You know, you can tell someone who's sad that, and you can also tell someone who is happy that, and it induces the opposite. I thought "Shall you live in interesting times" was something kind of like that, or it can have multiple meanings depending on the context in which it is used.
Right.
But I did not realize it's supposed to be a curse, which by definition is not good news. Nobody wants a curse.
Are you a fan of the TV series Yes Minister or Yes Prime Minister? Well, they're two different series. One's the sequel to the other, but do you watch them or are you familiar with them?
I am familiar with them. I tried to watch Yes Minister and I couldn't quite get into it. But
I would have thought you'd like it. I would have thought it would appeal to you.
I think I just wasn't in the mood. But I'm very open to trying it at some point in the future.
Anyway, the reason I even bring it up was it does remind me there's a phrase that's made famous by that show where the civil servant who's always trying to manipulate the politician will always say to the politician, "That's a very courageous decision, Minister," which obviously sounds like a compliment, but it always makes the minister think, "Oh, hang on, why is it courageous? Is it going to cause me a problem?"
Right.
And I think obviously Interesting Times has that. It sort of sounds like a nice thing. Oh, I hope everything is interesting for you. When really, it would be interesting if your car fell down a sinkhole and you had, fell off a cliff and but it wouldn't necessarily be good. Interesting. So anyway, it did remind me of a boring Brady anecdote, and I know you love these.
I do. I love to cut these.
Yeah. So let me give you a boring Brady anecdote to cut, which is to do with not understanding sayings. This is one of my favorites.
Oh boy, this sounds like it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I'm just doing a few stretches at the moment.
I can feel you winding up over there.
So here we go. I used to work with a guy called Michael, who was really top guy, still a really good friend, although I don't get to see him or speak to him nearly enough. Very smart, very bright, but also a guy that we liked giving each other a hard time as well. That kind of friendship.
Right. So
we had a debate in the office where we worked about the origins of the saying "a loose cannon." He or she is a bit of a loose cannon. Now, obviously, I think most people know what that saying means. It's someone who's a bit erratic and what they do can potentially be quite damaging to those around them without them kind of even meaning to. Do you have a view or an opinion on the origin of this term?
When you say loose cannon, my mental image is a pirate ship with a cannon that is unhinged in some way.
And why is this a problem? Like, what do you mean?
The cannon is not sturdily bolted down. And so in the waves, it can maybe end up pointing to the inside of the ship and firing and causing a huge amount of problem. So that's kind of my mental image.
Okay, that is completely reasonable. This was Michael's position as well. He imagined a cannon not properly secured and therefore firing indiscriminately, not knowing what it might hit and what it might damage, which very much matches what the saying "he's a bit of a loose cannon" means. I was of the view that, in fact, it's a bit more subtle than that. What it is if your cannon on the ship is not properly secured, when you go into a storm, it will start rolling and moving around the deck, and just the sheer weight and mass of the cannon itself will start hitting walls and hitting things and causing damage to your ship. And that is why your cannons need to be well secured. The subtlety being it has nothing to do with the firing of the cannon. That's not the issue here. In my case, the problem is just the movement of this huge, big, weighty thing causes a problem on your ship, which was the origin. Now, this was a long-running debate between us.
Exciting.
I would have thought this is the sort of stuff you love, like this kind of minutiae of factual detail. The thing that's funny though, like if two people have a disagreement like that now, like that seems funny, doesn't it? Because this could be resolved in seconds.
Yeah, I've already pulled up a page that's all about the phrase loose cannon as you're talking.
Exactly. But this was at a time when the internet was truly in its infancy, and the use of the internet for something like this was not possible. This wasn't an option. So we were doing what old-fashioned journalists would do. We were phoning linguistic experts at universities and trying to get hold of books and articles, and it became this big debate between us. In the end, it was decided that I was right. We found an expert who even convinced Michael that my position was right in terms of the origin of the term. And so to sort of celebrate my victory, I made this big scoreboard and like with a huge picture of me and a huge picture of him and our names in great big huge type, and it said Brady 1, Michael 0. And I put it up and it became this big thing, and it became the Michael Brady scoreboard, not dissimilar to our Gray versus Brady webpage maybe. And this was, he took it in good spirit, but it was sort of a bugbear for him, and it was always in his face. And he wanted to get one back on me. So he kept waiting. We waited for another disagreement, and in the end, he got so desperate to score a point on this scoreboard, he started taking silly risks and calling me out for things being wrong when he wasn't sure I was wrong. And he started losing points. The only other one I remember really well was, there's an airport, I think it's St. Martin Airport, where the planes come in and land over a beach, and they come in so low.
Oh, yes, I know that
it's
one.
really famous. You see these photos all the time. It looks like the people in their bathers and bikinis could just reach up and touch the bottom of these huge passenger planes.
Yeah, I've used a picture of that somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, again, saying that now, it's like the ultimate cliche, and we've all seen it a million times. But again, this was a time when, with no internet and just email just coming into its own, the first sort of pictures of that were going around on email and stuff, and we saw one. And I was familiar with this airport, and I said, yeah, that's a real thing. And he was convinced it was fake. So I was like, well, this was over a few pints, I remember, at the pub, and I was, well, are you willing to stake a point on the scoreboard on the fact that's fake? And he was like, yeah, I'll do it. And then, we went on to the news wires and the photos, and there were 100 other photos, and he was like, oh, he lost another point. So I don't think he ever took a point off me on the scoreboard, because he just got desperate, and I got very protective and wouldn't take risks. The point being, if only this interesting times thing had come up, this would have been an opportunity for him to take a point off me. Because I was convinced May You Live in Interesting Times was a nice thing and had a nice sentiment. And I am wrong. It's got there is a slight arc to the story.
That was the end of your story.
Well, I was thinking.
If there was a thing that you were wrong about, and that if a friend you knew years ago was still betting you, he could have scored a point because you were wrong on this thing.
Well, I have to be honest, Gray. I have to be honest. When I was thinking it through, I was hoping you might jump on board with the story from time to time and chime in and ask a few questions.
I was going to let you spin that one out all by yourself, buddy. That was great.
Well, that's not really in keeping with the spirit of the podcast, is it? You're supposed to engage. You're supposed to engage and ask stories and say, "Oh, that's really interesting."
But this problem. I've had this problem a few times, which is when I feel like I don't know exactly where the thing is going, I find it hard to engage. It's a bit like, wait, what? Where was the Where was the thing? And I have to admit, I got distracted while you were telling the story because I was reading all up on this loose cannon page, which has some remarks about, loose cannon as a phrase was used in 1874, but it mentions it as a French translation from a book. And there's a couple of other like dodgy references to loose cannon. And so while you were telling your story, then I went over to the Google Books Ngram viewer, which, do you know what the Ngram viewer is?
I don't even care. I'm so disappointed that
you
are yet again just surfing the internet while I'm telling my stories.
I'm going to keep plowing ahead. So the Ngram viewer is this amazing tool from Google Books where they've digitized all the books from 1800 to now that they can get their hands on, and they've done OCR across all the books, and so you can search for the relative frequency of word usage over time, which is very interesting. And this is one of the things that I used in my what were the popular names for the planet Uranus over time, so you can see the alternatives rise and fall. So anyway, I looked up loose cannon on the Google Ngram viewer, and it suspiciously has no references before about 1930 in the English language. There's just nothing there. Doesn't necessarily mean anything because, of course, the data gets more spotty as you get closer to 1800. But still, this makes me wonder if this is one of these phrases that is actually modern, but that we think is much older than it really is. But then I got distracted because you mentioned St. Martin, and I was thinking, where I know, what video must that have been? So I was looking up St. Martin. And of course, St. Martin is the island that is named thrice because the island is St. Martin. The northern part of the island is French and is also named St. Martin. And the southern part of the island is Dutch and named St. Martin. So that would have been in my Netherlands video.
You did a lot of stuff while I was telling that story. Then I went and made a cup of tea, and then I went to the toilet and wrote a few scripts.
I was listening. I was definitely listening.
No, I'm not sure you were. Do you know what I find really interesting? Whenever something comes up, like, this is obviously a bit of a theme between us.
Mm-hmm.
I always want to tell, like, an anecdote. Like, if something happens, I'm like, that reminds me of a story. And I tell one of my big, long stories.
Mm-hmm.
And you are really, all you want to do is talk about like some functional thing. Oh, that reminds me of Google Ngram, which is this tool that you can use to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And this you're like, wait, don't you like a bit of a story? Like, and it does occur to me, I don't often think of times that you spin yarns about people like, that reminds me of my cousin Jimmy that once climbed a tree and fell off onto a spike. And like, you don't really, I can't think of many of those stories you tell.
That cousin Jimmy story sounds great.
Yeah. I could make one up if you want. I'm sure. Give you a chance to surf the internet again.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. I'll be looking up spike-related injury frequency in just a moment.
Yeah, and some app that tells you where every spike is in the Northern Hemisphere so you can avoid them and how useful this is. And
yeah, that'd be great. Oh man, I would want something like that. There's an app that tries to track bed bugs at hotels in America. So it'll show you a frequency of reported bed bug incidences at various hotels. I feel like, bed bugs, those are bad news. You got to avoid those. I'm not checking into some place unless I make sure there's no bed bugs there first.
That actually sounds like a problem because that would turn into one of those things where, like TripAdvisor, like anywhere you want to go, you just go through every review until you find one bad review. And then you say, okay, now I can't go there.
Yeah.
Surely there's always going to be one bed bug report at every place.
Well, not going to risk it. No, forget it.
Random acts of intelligence.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So, for people who don't know, there is going to be a live show featuring Destin from Smarter Every Day, Derek from Veritasium.
No,
leave that in just because it will annoy him. Derek from Veritasium, that brilliant YouTube channel and brilliant man. Henry from Minute Physics. Brady Harron from Numberphile, periodic videos, 60 Symbols, Deep Sky videos, and various others. And CGP Grey from CGP Grey. In person, on a stage, in real life.
Yes.
People can come. They can hear you talk. They can possibly talk to you. They can see your face. They can they touch you? I don't know.
Probably not, no.
No?
Maybe a handshake. Handshakes are okay. I'll bring hand sanitizer.
Yeah. So this is an exciting thing. I have no information in front of me as to the date.
I was going to say, like, why are you being so vague about this? It's November 14th in Huntsville, Alabama. Tickets are $42. You can go to actsofintelligence.com and purchase a ticket there. I was like, why are you being so vague? It's because you're totally unprepared and you don't have the webpage open.
No, I was
6 to 8 p.m.
I was like building up like suspense and excitement. And
I don't think you were. I think you were hoping that I was going to open the webpage while you were talking about that, which is exactly
that's
what
not
I
true.
did.
I wasn't. Because what I was trying to do was I was trying to get people to think, oh, this sounds really good. I want to go. And I wanted the people in their head to already have committed to going before realising that they would have to do a quite pleasant and short trip to Huntsville, Alabama, where they will also get to visit like a big rocket center and see the loveliness of Huntsville.
Yes, it's the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. There's big Saturn V rockets there. It looks very cool. I have not been there, but I have seen Destin show off enough cool stuff from the Rocket Center to definitely feel like this is a cool sciencey place to go to. So yes, that's where we are all going to be, and I believe Pretty Derek and Henry and Destin are going to be putting on a little song and dance show, and yeah, it should be an interesting evening of stuff and hanging out. So yeah, so Destin and Henry and Veritas. No, wait, not Veritasium.
We keep getting him wrong.
Okay, now I have to leave that cut in. But yeah, so,
what does he just call him? The beardy guy with that channel that starts with a V.
You know what the problem is? I'm trying not to say Pretty Derek, which is what I want to say, because I think it annoys him, and so I'm messing it up.
That annoys him? I think he'd love that. I think he loves it. Sure. I don't know. I've never discussed it with him, but I think he loves it.
He might love it. But anyway, the five of us, for various reasons, had decided to kind of get together, and Destin was the best at organizing stuff, and so we all kind of agreed, like, let's hang out at Destin's house. And so we decided we're all going to fly in and just, spend some time together because we're friends. And out of this eventually came the idea, because Destin, I feel like I know a lot of guys who get a lot of stuff done, but Destin is at the way top end of this list in terms of industriousness. And so I think he was very quick to pick up on the idea of, hey, while we're all here, why don't we do a thing? I work with the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. I can get some space there, and maybe we can put on like a little event and answer some questions and meet some people. And I think we all agreed, because Destin is awesome. And then this is kind of spiraled up into an actual event. But yes, the origins of this were just, some friends were just hanging out, and then one of them said, "Why don't we do a thing?" So. We all know each other in real life. We are definitely friends. And then, we decided to put on, or we should really say Destin organized and decided to put on this thing, which I think will definitely be fun.
Yeah, I think some people had the impression maybe it was some, like, invited guests or some hand-picked thing. And then the people are like, oh, why, you should have had so-and-so, or why isn't this? And it's not like that. It wasn't like Destin said, let's do a show and let's ask X, Y, and Z. It was like, we were already there, and then it was like, oh, yeah, let's do this thing, and then he's turned into this really cool thing.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, Destin is way too awesome in some ways. So I'm looking at the poster right now that he put together, and the poster intimidates me. The poster looks really official and super awesome, and I think, oh God, that's quite an event. But so he's just too good at putting together. All of the cool looking.
I mean, he'll be at pains to point out someone else made the poster for him. But he works with really cool people, and I know some artist he works with did the poster. I'm not saying that to take any credit from Destin, but I know he would want to shout out to the artist. So consider that done. But come to the show. If I don't think it's that. I mean, America's not a big place, is it? It's not hard just to nip over to Huntsville to come and hang out with us.
Well, here's the America is a big place, but because it's a big place, us Americans are used to traveling distances that to English people are unfathomable.
Well done on pronouncing that, by the way. I wouldn't even try a word like that.
Destin told me just, there are people coming from all over the place to this, from much further away than I would have expected. So yeah, if people are interested, we'll put the website in the show notes and they can go check it out and get a ticket. I don't know for how long tickets will still be available because they are selling quite well. But yeah, it'll be there if you want to come and see us in person.
And it will not be recorded.
Yes, this is a real, actual, live, you need to be there in person
Be
event.
there
It's not
and
going
be
to be
square.
recorded.
What a cool saying. We should have used that. Oh, be there and be square. That's cool, isn't it? For like a kind of nerdy gathering.
I guess.
Maybe.
I'm not sure I would go with be there and be
Maybe not.
square. I think not. No,
But it
not
won't
so
be
much,
recorded.
no.
Everyone's like, oh, well, why don't you record it? I'm not a big believer in recording everything, said the guy who makes YouTube videos for a living. But like,
Yeah, who records other people for a living. Even more than that. Yeah.
But like things like weddings and stuff like that, I think it's like, I don't have like speeches recorded from my wedding because in my head it was amazing and everyone was laughing, and like when I tell you my anecdotes, I think they're amazing, and then when I hear them back, I'm like, wow, that really was boring. Like,
did you hear me laughing in your mind as you were telling the anecdote?
The reason you were so quiet during my anecdote was because I thought you were enthralled. It was actually because you were just looking stuff up on the internet. But so like with the wedding, like I like to imagine it. Like in my imagination, it's kind of, it's lovely and perfect. And I imagine if I watched a video and heard all my ums and ahs and stuff like that, I'd enjoy it less. And I think the same for this. I think let's be in the room and have a great night with some people, and that's just something those people will have. And then, what's wrong with that? Why does everything have to be recorded?
There's nothing wrong with that. I think it makes live events more special. Although I'm going to disagree with you about something here. To slightly change the topic, because you don't have a recording of your wedding. I do have a video recording of my wedding, and you know me, I am not a let's all remember the glorious past kind of guy. I'm very forward looking. Yeah. I am so happy that I have a recording of my wedding, because on the day, the actual wedding was such a blur that I couldn't remember anything about it. And when my wife and I were driving from the ceremony back to our hotel, we in the car were saying, we cannot remember what just happened. Like, it was such an overwhelming, fast-moving day that if we didn't happen to have a video recording of that, I would have literally no memory of what happened on my wedding day, because it's like it was too overwhelming for my brain to actually write down and record. But
instead you have like a forensic blow by blow.
Well, what I have is a video recording of my wedding, which is now functioning as my actual memory of the event, right? I don't remember the wedding. I remember all the times that I have watched the wedding on the computer. So that's how my memory works there.
Let me respond to your response. We had an amazing photographer who didn't take like posy pictures, because we're not too into them, but like took sort of reportage journalistic pictures, which I really like, and prompt all those memories that need prompting. And I did give a handy cam to my non-cameraman friend and said, just record some stuff for a while. And he did he recorded not like the speeches and the ceremony, but he just recorded lots of stuff. And I edited that into a 3 or 4 minute video. So there is video footage from the day, which we love very much. I must show it to you sometime, actually. Which is good. So I'm not saying like don't document the day, and I'm not even saying don't have any video footage of the day. I just think certain things some things are better in the memory, in my opinion. For example, I used to do a lot of plays and theatrical performances when I was in high school, and I remember I have very fond memories of them. And I saw a video of one a few years ago, and it was pretty disappointing. And I much prefer my memories of my performance than the actuality of my performance.
Yeah, we're getting derailed here so fast, but I will just say, of course, your memory is better. I mean, like, human memory is so shockingly frail and totally unreliable that like what memory is it is an amplifier of whatever you think you are remembering. So if you have some event in your past that was a mildly good day and you keep remembering it, in 30 years, you're going to remember that day as the best day you've ever had, because your brain just keeps amplifying and adding in more details. And it's the reverse for things that are bad, right? Oh, you had a bad day. Well, fast forward in 20 years, you're going to remember that bad day as the worst day that ever happened if you keep thinking about it every single day. So, of course,
I find the bad days don't do that, though. I find the good days do what you just said, and the bad days don't do that. Maybe that's like a self-protection mechanism we have, but I feel like the bad days don't get worse over time. They actually
it's
fade.
almost certainly just that you don't think about them as much, right? If you keep revisiting a bad day, like we know this from science, your memory of the things that you remember more gets more and more distorted. So if there is a story that you keep telling, by the 50th time you tell that story, it is way out of whack. And it's actually the things that you remember less frequently are the things that you remember more accurately. And this is one of the reasons, it's total side derailment here, but this is one of the reasons why eyewitness testimony is just worse than useless. Because by the time you get someone on the stand, they have been over their story with the police, with the lawyers, so many times that by the time that the person is on the witness stand actually recalling what they saw, those memories are just completely untrustworthy. So yes, if you have a great day and you want to remember that day in the future as glorious, the worst thing you can do is record that day in any way. Just keep telling people about how great that day was. And in the retirement home, you will be filled with bliss when you think back upon it.
Answer me this then.
Yeah.
Why don't you and Mrs. Gray watch the video once to patch up the memories that are gone, and then never watch it again and start building up that happy memory?
Because, Brady, because I value accuracy over lies. This episode is brought to you by, of course, Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website, portfolio, or online store. As a special promotion for the Hello Internet audience, Squarespace is giving away a full year of its most premium service valued at more than $288 to a randomly selected listener. Just tweet Better Websites for All with hashtag Squarespace Hello Internet. Yes, that is all one word, and yes, it is the longest hashtag I've ever seen. But that's what they want. Again, tweet Better Websites for All with hashtag Squarespace Hello Internet, and you will let Squarespace know that you listened to our show and you heard their ad. And you might just get a year of their most premium service to boot. Squarespace has been around for 10 years, and they're constantly improving their platform with new features, new designs, and even better support. And of course, you know that Squarespace is easy to use with simple drag and drop tools, but if you need help, Squarespace has an amazing support team that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if you're looking to start your own website with Squarespace, now is the absolute best time. I literally got an email from them this morning saying that the new version of their website manager, Squarespace 7, is out now. Just when you thought things couldn't possibly get any easier, they're even easier. So hop on board their new system and get your website built today, and I'll put the details for their promotion in the show notes. So Squarespace is good for everyone, whether you need a simple website solution or you're a developer and want to get into the code. There are just so many options, and it starts for just $8 a month and includes a free domain name if you sign up for a year. So start a trial today with no credit card required, and when you decide to sign up for Squarespace, make sure to use the offer code HelloInternet, all one word. We thank Squarespace for their support. Squarespace, everything you need to create an exceptional website.
So I have just finished watching Breaking Bad.
Oh,
now
spoiler alerts.
I'll try to not do spoiler alerts. But I'm not going to sit here and say how great it is, because it's a bit like I'm a bit late to the party, and obviously it's one of the great television shows, and I'm going to sound a bit stupid like I've just discovered it and I want to tell the world how good Breaking Bad is. Let's just say it's a really good show. I don't know if you've watched it. I assume you have, and I assume you agree it's good, because if you don't, I don't think we can be friends.
I have watched it, and I do agree that it is good, but I have asterisks on that, but yes.
Okay. Well, before we go into asterisks, I just want to say, having finished it, what an immense burden has been lifted off me in terms of avoiding spoilers about what would happen and how it would end. Because obviously this is a cult show. It's discussed on Reddit all the time. There are always new articles. And it's become such a part of our culture that it's hard to avoid them. And I've many times been going through Reddit and suddenly seen some headline about Walter White and sort of shut my eyes and click the back button to get away from the page. And I did. I managed to avoid all the spoilers and got to the end of Breaking Bad, not knowing really what would happen and how it would end, and enjoyed it very much. Thank you very much. Do you want to talk about your asterisks, or is this not the time? Should we review Breaking Bad another day?
No, I'm really sorry, but I was just trying to look up something on the internet as you were.
You're on the internet? Oh.
No, because
I think we need to impose some kind of ban on you using the internet.
Normally I don't, but I just your spoiler thing reminded me of something, and I can't find it off the top of my head. I'm going to go out on a limb here, but what it reminded me of is there's a newish podcast I found called TLDR. And broadly, I could say that it is about internet culture. But they had an episode that I really liked, which was on a thing which was called, I want to say, Last Man Standing. And it's a game, and the game was played between a bunch of friends with the goal of who can be the last person to find out who won the Super Bowl this year.
Ah.
Right? And so they were playing this game to try and avoid this incredibly big piece of news.
That's good.
Yeah, it was a good episode. If I'm remembering,
I can't remember who won the
podcast
Super Bowl
right.
this year. I did watch it though, so yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not sure I ever knew, but if I might have this wrong about I might put a different podcast in the notes. But even that aside, TLDR is a good podcast to listen to. I recommend it.
Yeah.
But so what I'm thinking of is when you are watching a show like Breaking Bad, it's a bit like you are playing your own version of this Last Man Standing. And you have to try to avoid this information coming to you. And it can come to you at any time, from any location, on Twitter, just on some website. And I am with you on this one. I watched Breaking Bad late as well. And I remember feeling this exact same anxiety over trying not to know what happens in Breaking Bad. I'd gotten up through season 4, part 1. And it ends at season 4, part 2. As I was just about to start that season 4, part 2, and I happened to be talking to some friends, and they brought up Breaking Bad, and I said, "Oh, just don't mention it to me. I'm only up to season 4, part 2. Don't tell me anything. I don't want to know." And I don't know if you've ever come across this kind of person, but there is a sort of person who feels like they are doing you a favor if they tell you all of the stuff that happens later on. And so this friend was like, "Oh, well, let me just," and they're like, no, I don't want to hear it. And I had to be ridiculously firm with this person about,
I'm very strict about that.
Yeah, please don't tell me. I will murder you before I let you finish that sentence. Because I've spent 2 years trying to not find out about the end of the show. There is this kind of person who seems to want to tell you what happens. And I think it is because they are a kind of person who needs to know what happens. And this, what I'm about to say, I have no intellectual ability to understand these humans. But I have met people who, when they pick up a book, the first thing they do is read the last page of the book. I cannot understand this at all. This is like, I can't come up with an analogy. My brain just goes completely blank on the possibility that somebody else's brain would work this way.
There is one circumstance in which I understand that. Besides the silly one, like, oh, I could die and never know how it ended. It's like, that's obviously stupid. But there is an occasion where I get tempted to read the last page of a book. And this is the circumstance. And I will start with an analogy. You know when you're on a ship in the middle of the sea and in the middle of the night you go to the edge and just look over the rail at the water. And it's like quite scary, isn't it? You know, I could jump in and no one would ever know and the ship would be gone and that would be it. And suddenly you just imagine jumping. You like think, I'm going to jump, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And you just imagine yourself doing it. And then hopefully you don't do it. But like you get this weird thing that goes through your head.
It's the call of the void is the name for that.
Okay. Sometimes if I'm reading a book, I do the same thing. Like I imagine I could just look at the last page right now. I could just do it. I could just turn to the last page right now. I could look at it. I could know how it ends and it will be too late and no one will have stopped me and it will be done. And that's it. So it's like the equivalent of jumping off the ship. I sometimes have those moments with a book. I'm like, I could just do it. I'm going to do it.
That is adorable. I love this notion of you having this mental fight with yourself, however brief.
So when I finished Breaking Bad, I thought, well done, I have managed to avoid the spoilers. I decided to have a look how long it had been since the last episode was broadcast. And it turns out I watched the finale 364 days after it screened. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I quite liked that. I kind of regretted not knowing that because I would have waited one more day, and I would have liked watching it on the anniversary, but I didn't find out till after the fact because that's when I then went onto Wikipedia and read everything, of course, about Breaking Bad. I've got a Brady's paper cut.
Yes.
And it relates to all of this.
Yes.
So here's Brady's paper cut, which we haven't had for a while. My paper cut is people who live tweet things on TV.
What? Who do you follow who does this?
Well, less people than last night. Because
what happened?
last night was the final of a television show that's been very popular in the UK called The Great British Bake Off, which is like a cooking show. It is surprisingly addictive. It is surprisingly addictive. It's like a, So anyway, I usually don't watch it on the day. I usually watch it a couple of days later. But because it was the final, I thought, well, I will watch this on the day because it will be very hard to avoid. But I had to wait for my wife to come home from work. She was working late, so I had to wait till late in the evening. And I went onto Twitter quite innocently. Okay, my fault. I went onto Twitter while it was on, and there were people saying, "Oh, I'm so glad so-and-so won." I think there needs to be some etiquette about tweeting what happens in TV shows. There are times when live tweeting is acceptable, and there are times when it is unacceptable, in my opinion.
Yes. It's acceptable during an Apple event. It is not acceptable during a TV show.
Yes. It is acceptable, although it's a nuisance to me, it is acceptable during a sporting event. I wish people wouldn't do it because I sometimes watch sporting events on delay. But I accept sporting events, news, things that is breaking news, like an Apple event or some disaster or something, of course. But
like the presidential debates, I think I live tweeted during the last presidential debates.
If I say I'm not going to watch the presidential debate for a few hours because I'm busy, I accept people are going to live tweet that.
Yeah, and the very notion of a spoiler alert for the presidential debate is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. But I think a reality sort of baking competition show that is on like at peak time, people need to be a bit sensitive to that. Like, we live in an era now where people watch their entertainment quite delayed. Not many people watch stuff live. And I think if you're tweeting who won the Great British Bake Off while it's happening, that's unacceptable. The next day, okay, it's a news event now. But during it, unacceptable. That's my paper cut. I know I made a mistake by going on Twitter, but I'll tell you the worst offender, though. He's a mate of mine. I hope he doesn't listen to the podcast. I'm pretty sure he doesn't. But there's a TV show in the UK again called University Challenge. It's a quiz show. Very difficult questions. I really enjoy watching it to see how many of the questions I can get right. Because there are so few you can get right, it actually becomes a point of interest. And I had this friend who likes the show as well, and he will go on Twitter and he will watch it and he will write the answers to all the questions, like live, like he's listening, and if he knows the answer, he writes it down. There's no way he's writing it more quickly than the people answering. But you'd go onto his Twitter stream and it would say, Nepal, King Charles III, Brazil, doctor, 1943. And I really got pleasure from recording University Challenge and later on watching it and seeing how many I could get right. And when you've had all the answers down your Twitter stream, I got really he was even doing that on Facebook.
I feel like this is the smallest scale of spoilers that I can still get on board with.
It's like micro spoilers.
Yeah. It's like any smaller, and I would feel like, I'm sorry, Brady, I can't go along with that. Yeah. But the notion of Madagascar, that this is a spoiler, I can go along with that.
Fair. The next level would be the presenter is wearing a pink tie, and that would be like, okay, if you
that's too small. Done.
You've ruined it for me. I can't watch it now.
With you.
Anyway, there's my paper cut. We need clearly delineated boundaries of what can be live tweeted and what cannot. And the Great British Bake Off final cannot be live tweeted. I have spoken. It has been Nobel Prize week.
Oh, yes.
It's always a big week for a science video maker such as I.
See, now I'm feeling guilty for not following you more closely. Do you still do the make some poor professor at Nottingham explain the Nobel Prize right then and there videos?
Well, I didn't. This year we didn't. I wasn't in the room watching it with them live for various reasons, but pretty much straight afterwards, it's a mad scramble for me around the university finding someone who's suitable to explain it. And I have done this with the physics prize and the chemistry prize. And if Gray is kind, he can link to the videos and whatnot. I don't do the medicine prize because I haven't got a medical channel. I don't do the literature one because I haven't got a literature channel. And I don't do the peace one because peace prize is a load of rubbish.
Taking sides.
Did you follow the Nobel Prizes this year? Any thoughts on the Nobel Prize in general?
Well, I basically didn't know the Nobel Prizes happened until just now.
I'll take that as a no.
So sorry.
You don't. What do you think about the Nobel Prize? You think it's a good thing, or do you think prizes are a load of rubbish and science is above prizes? Or you don't like trinkets? I can't imagine you'd like gold medals, but $1 million, I imagine you'd see some merit to.
So, okay. I don't know if here's a slight prize related story. Here, you want an anecdote? I'll give you an anecdote.
All right. Hang on, just let me get my internet open. Let me open Safari.
yeah, that's right. There you go. So you can zone me out while I'm talking.
No, go on. I wait with bated breath.
So as you may know, but for the benefit of the audience, if you get 1 million subscribers on YouTube, then YouTube sends you this gold play button, and it is impossible to describe how enormous this thing is. It comes in this huge frame, and this golden play button is like a sphere the size of a human head. This prize is enormous. I will try to find a video because there's a few on YouTube of people opening up their golden play boxes, and they always say the same thing.
Gray, I have to interrupt because you're not going to believe this.
What?
Mine arrived 4 hours ago.
No way.
And it is within eyeshot of me, and it is still in the box. That's how fresh it is. I haven't even opened it yet.
Okay.
I can testify to the fact the box is enormous and incredibly heavy, but it just arrived.
Okay.
I couldn't resist. That's too amazing.
All right, so this works out just perfectly. Yeah, so you just got yours.
I literally have it. I haven't even opened it.
When I reached 1 million subscribers, I had a very excellent and very thorough partner manager at YouTube. And for those who aren't aware, a partner manager at YouTube is someone who you can ask questions and they want to make sure everything is okay with your channel. And this partner manager kept trying to ask, where do you want the golden play button sent? And trying to extract the information from me. And she must have chased me for months about, where do you want us to send the golden play button? How is the best way to get it to you? Should we just have it shipped to YouTube headquarters and I can hand it to you and you can bring it home on the underground? Should we have it shipped to your parents? And trying desperately to extract this information from me. And I spent so much effort constantly trying to derail the conversation or avoid direct answers because I had no desire to have this gigantic, useless trophy in my house. And I think, what is awesome? What's awesome is that I have 1 million subscribers, that many people want to watch the videos I make. I am truly humbled by that number of people. What I don't need is a gigantic thing in my house to constantly remind me of that. I don't need this at all.
Like a wedding video.
No, not like a wedding video, because a wedding video can be a file on my computer that I never even have to look at if I don't want to. Gigantic gold play button. What the heck am I going to do with that? So I was dodging her forever before finally it was relinquished. And I am a fortunate person now to still be sitting here with over 1 million subscribers and no gigantic golden play button. I don't want it. Obviously, personally, I don't like trophies. And I don't know if you remember, but a few, maybe was it last year, I guess? It was near the time I was crossing the 1 million subscriber mark. There was also one of the YouTube EDU conferences that we went to. And Hank Green was there with the Crash Course people who make an excellent, excellent YouTube channel. And it just so happened that Hank Green was there at the YouTube conference when he crossed 1 million subscribers.
Yes.
And so at the conference, they presented him with the gigantic golden play button.
Yeah.
And I had been trying really hard to hit 1 million subscribers before that conference because I just thought, I would like to be at the conference and have 1 million subscribers. That would seem like it was fun. I cannot tell you how much relief I was filled with at the conference when I realized I only have 900,000, and that I didn't have to go up on stage and they weren't going to hand me some gigantic golden play button, because my only thought would have been, how the heck am I going to get this home? Like, thanks. Can I leave this here? Is this impolite to just, pretend to forget it in the Google cafeteria and just try to get the heck out of there without it? So yes, I've not a personal fan of trophies. What are you going to do with yours? The thing is enormous.
Well, actually, as you are aware, because hopefully you are coming along as a special observer and guest, I have a video planned that kind of belatedly celebrates Numberphile reaching 1 million subscribers. So I was hoping to have it there and somehow incorporate it into the video to say, hey, we've reached 1 million, here's the button. Now that I've seen how big and heavy it is, I will not be taking it.
Yes.
But I don't agree with you. I think I don't mind trophies. I know they are kind of a vanity thing. And I have a few in my office, and I have a few that I have given to, people at the university who have helped make the videos possible. It's a nice thing to be able to do. So, I don't hate them the way you do, but I see them for what they are. But coming back to you not wanting your play button, can I put two things out there? One, I know your parents are, justifiably very proud of the things you've accomplished. Why not have it sent to their home and let them have it up in a room somewhere and say, oh, yeah, that's our son, he's a very successful filmmaker, and that wouldn't interest them either?
They would probably be much more interested than me. And that was my backup plan, was if I was ever in a situation where I cannot possibly get out of it, I'll have that thing shipped to my parents and let them deal with it.
Well, can I give you a third option?
Yes.
Can I have it?
No, you can't have my golden play button.
Well,
you're going to have two in your house.
No, because I think it would be a really fun video to take CGP Grey's golden play button and throw it off a cliff or smash it with an axe and film it.
No, that I don't agree with, because that's different, right? That's disrespectful of the thing.
No. Okay, yeah. I wasn't thinking of it in that context, but yeah.
Because
I didn't mean that.
That's a bit like, fuck this. That's not the thing.
Just to be clear, that's not what I meant. That's not the spirit I meant it in. I meant it more in just doing something spectacular. Yeah. I didn't mean. I think it's a really lovely thing that they send us these. Yeah. They don't have to send us these things for free. It's a very nice thing they do.
Yeah, no,
I didn't mean it. Yeah.
It definitely is. But and that's where, again, I am not opposed to the abstract notion of winning prizes, but it's like the important part about winning the Nobel Prize is that you won the Nobel Prize. It is not the actual physical object that they hand you. That's the difference here. And with the YouTube thing, it's like I have the 1 million subscribers. I don't need some object to remind me that is the case. But obviously, Nobel Prizes way less frequent than YouTubers with 1 million subscribers. So they are vastly more valuable. Plus, they also come with. Is it still $1 million? Actually, I don't know. Is that the case?
I think it's over $1 million actually.
Is it one? Maybe
it's because it's in kroner, and obviously the exchange rate changes, and it's in Swedish kroner. But I think it works out to a bit over $1 million. Of course, it usually gets split up. People rarely win it alone anymore. But
yeah, well, I mean that's part of the question about the Nobel Prize now, isn't it?
Yeah, because no more than 3 people can win it. Can I ask you, Brady asks Gray, a random question?
Yes.
That other. You promised I could make this a segment. So.
Yeah, sorry, I was just distracted. It's $1.2 million at the current exchange rate.
Oh, yeah, that's what I said. Just over $1 million.
Okay. Sorry.
Brady asks Gray a random question, which isn't totally random. This is actually a favourite question of mine to ask people. With you, these questions won't be as fun because I know exactly what the answers will be, but I'll see where I can take it.
Uh-oh.
Would you rather win a Nobel Prize or a World Series or Super Bowl, winner's ring? I'm imagining a Nobel Prize.
Well, hold on a second. Does this mean I have to put in all the work required to get either of those prizes? Because a Nobel Prize means I'm also signing up for a lifetime of some of the hardest work that a human being can possibly do.
You can jag a Nobel Prize with just a little bit of luck, whereas you've got to do
can you
fitness training every day.
That it's a lucky one for a Nobel Prize? Because I'm not signing up to win a Nobel Prize when I'm 70, and that just sounds like an enormous amount of work. Whereas a World Series, that sounds like less work.
What I'm saying is, when you're about to die and you're about to draw your last breath, I'm preparing your obituary, do you want me to be saying CGP Grey, the Nobel Prize winner, or CGP Grey, the Super Bowl winner? The Super Bowl quarterback who won the Super Bowl.
What I will have cared about when I'm dying is if I have lived an enjoyable life. And so that's why I'm trying to figure out what is required of me with these two prizes. Because the World Series sounds like way easier than
I think being an athlete is quite... you have to do a lot of exercise and a lot of fitness and running.
Yes, but I'm also thinking that this is a much more limited period of time of your life, probably.
Yeah.
And if I'm winning a World Series, I'm probably a fairly well-paid athlete as well. Scientists, not well-paid. So this is what I'm trying to do the calculations on here. I might actually go for the World Series. I think I'm definitely leaning that way.
You take these questions so different to my other friends.
I don't understand how else I'm supposed to think about that.
Would you rather win a Nobel Prize or an Oscar?
Well, I just have the exact same question. Do I have to do the work for these things? Because again, Oscar sounds like it's the way better deal. I think I'm going to go for an Oscar.
Yeah, but it also has less cachet, doesn't it? Depending on your mindset.
Again, I'm concerned about the quality of my life, not the greatness of my obituary. Obviously, Nobel Prize winners contribute way more to society than any actor or any sportsman. But that is not a relevant question for how do I necessarily want to live my life.
Every decision you make is just based on making your life better. There's no thought of legacy or impact. All you care about is just...
I'll be dead when there's legacy. It's just...
Yeah, that's kind of what legacy means.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
A legacy, I do not optimize my life for that. I think it is great that people do. I am very glad those people exist. I am not a person who is capable of being really interested in what happens after I am dead, because I will not be able to be interested because I will be dead.
So every decision you make is just based on having a comfortable chair to sit in and nice food to eat and not be in pain, basically.
You are oversimplifying it in a very Brady-like way. But I am concerned with improving the quality of my life is the way that I would put it.
Okay. This sounds
I feel like I always disappoint you.
No. Welcome to my world. All your sighs at me.
You never disappoint me. I think you did on the last podcast.
For those of you who like to do your podcast listening with a nice smooth face, you're in luck, because today's episode of Hello Internet has been sponsored by the good people at Harry's. Their website is harrys.com, and as you probably know by now, they're all about giving you the ultimate shaving experience. Anyone who has experience buying razors will know two things. It's a huge pain in the neck, and it's a huge pain in the wallet. Harry's is all about stopping that. They got a really cool website. Check it out. It's harrys.com. I'm sure you can figure out how to spell that and how to find your way there. It's a really nicely designed website. It makes things really easy. It takes you through all the things you can buy from them, and the prices are really good, really competitive, a lot cheaper than the stuff you probably get from the shops. And the quality is first rate. Have a look. They've got kits you can get, like a sort of a starter kit with foam and a starter blades and a really cool handle that you put all your blades on. And then you can also get sort of refill blades and other bits and pieces that you might need. I've got one of the kits myself. It's what I use for shaving, and I've been really happy with it. They've been adding a few new things to their range lately. They've got an aftershave moisturizer, they've got aftershave, they've got shave gel, they've got everything you could possibly want. If you're not too big on shaving yourself, maybe you sort of sport a big bushy beard or something like that, it might still be worth having a look, because these would make really great presents. The Harry stuff come in really nice kits, really nice packaging. So if you've got someone in your family or a friend or a birthday coming up or something like that, and you want to get them a nice gift, I highly recommend the Harry stuff. Now, if you go to harrys.com and use the offer code HI when you check out, that's HI for Hello Internet, you'll get $5 off your purchase. And this stuff's so cheap that $5 is actually quite a lot of your overall purchase price. So it's well worth putting the code in. Website address again, harrys.com, offer code HI. Thanks so much to them for supporting our podcast. iPhones.
Oh, you want to talk iPhones?
I want to talk iPhones. First of all, this is amazing, and this is probably a sad indictment on me and will further enhance my caveman reputation. I am still yet to touch an iPhone 6.
Oh, yes?
I think I saw a 6S. I don't know if it was a 6 or a 6S because I haven't seen the two side by side yet. But I saw a woman with an iPhone held up to her face that looked like an iPad. So I'm assuming I hope that was the 6S, because if there's one bigger than that, Plus, sorry, 6 Plus. I hope that was a 6 Plus, because if they make them any bigger than that, heaven help us. You went for the 6, the smaller of the two. How's it working out for you first?
I feel like in my world, I have been listening to nothing but other people on podcasts also talk about their iPhones. It's like everybody on all of the podcasts I listen to is talking about their iPhones, and it's one of these weird things where, normally at a certain point I would feel like, okay, I've had enough of this, but on this particular topic, I feel like I can never hear enough conversation about people talking about the 6 versus the 6 Plus versus the 5S. It is endlessly engaging to my brain for reasons which I think might become clear as now I continue to participate in this conversation. So when we record the last show, I had seen an iPhone 6 in person, but I had not yet gotten mine. And so now I've had it for, I don't know, 2 weeks or so. I keep coming back to this feeling that it's just a little too big, that I've never quite realized how much I use my phone one-handed. And this is going to sound like a crazy person now, right? But not once, not twice, but thrice, I went back to the Apple Store to look at the 6 Plus. Because I kept thinking, well, if I'm having a hard time using this one-handed, why don't I just double down on size and go with the 6 Plus?
If you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly.
That's exactly it, right? Greatness is achieved by doubling down on strengths, not by mitigating weaknesses. Yeah. So I thought, okay, well, let me just go for what this thing actually is. You want a bigger phone? You're going to get the biggest phone. But every time I went back into the store, I would look at the 6 Plus and go, oh my God, this thing is enormous.
It's comically big, from what I've seen, from the one I saw.
Yeah, it is almost comically big. And then it's this funny situation where it goes from, oh, I'm having a little bit of difficulty using my phone one-handed to, well, actually, I can reach maybe 25% of the screen one-handed. I feel like I can't even reach and hit the return key from the opposite end with my thumb, one-handed experience. It was just way, way too big.
I mean, it's just not a one-handed phone. Is this the thing we have to just accept? The days of the one-handed phone are over if you go to a 6, yet alone a 6 Plus.
I don't know. I guess it depends on what happens next year or maybe in 2 years' time to see if Apple gets rid of their smallest size phone. That to me is a very interesting question, if they get rid of the 5 size phone. But it's like I never knew how much I used my phone one-handed until I suddenly found myself just with a phone that was a little too big to use comfortably one-handed. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can get by, but I am constantly aware of trying to reach to the far end of the screen or readjusting the grip on my phone so that I can reach like the top corners. So, yeah.
I'm surprised. I was convinced by now you would be saying, not a problem. Best thing I ever did. The days of I look at my 5S now and it looks too small. I thought, because I pulled out my 4 the other day and I looked at that and thought, oh my goodness, I could never use a 4 again. It just looks so tiny. I thought you would say the same thing to me about the 5S. I'm surprised you're still, you're not a total convert.
So this is why I think it's so interesting, because almost, yes, I would say without exception, up until this point, every time I have upgraded to a new Apple device, be it a laptop or be it an iPad or my previous phones, there is very often with Apple something they've changed where you feel like, I don't know about this, Apple. But within a week, you're always thinking unambiguously, how did I ever live like I lived before?
Yeah.
And this is the first Apple device where I just constantly find myself like feeling in doubt over it. And this is a new experience with an Apple product for me. Whereas every other time it has just been, oh, I'll get used to it. And then, yes, I'm completely sold on it. But so that is why the iPhone 6 is just, it keeps staying in my mind. And it's why I am so interested to hear other people on the podcast that I listen to discuss their experiences with it as well.
Have you retaken out your 5S and just held it and felt it and thought, I wish it was this again? Or like, what happens when you hold your 5S now, your smaller one?
So my wife is using the 5S, and because I am the tech guy in the house, I often have reason to handle her phone. And every single time I pick it up and it feels like, oh, it's a little small. And then immediately I realize just I can reach the whole screen. It's like I can use it without thinking about having to use it. It is very natural in this particular way. Whereas with the 6, I'm constantly shimmying it up and down a little bit. There has been much discussion on one of our favorite podcasts, which is Accidental Tech Podcast, about the correct way to hold an iPhone. And I am very strongly in the Arment Liss camp of using your pinky underneath the phone in your one hand, and then you use the pinky to kind of move the phone up and down, which extends the reach of your thumb across the screen. So that's the way I hold
I'm
the phone.
team pinky too, but I don't even think I need to move it with the pinky is just like the holder, and my thumb does all the work. Like you don't even need to shimmy or move it. Do you know what I compare it to? And I haven't heard anyone else make this comparison, but this was always a favourite thing of mine. When you're having a drink at the pub and you've had quite a few drinks and you're getting to the point where you think, gosh, I hope I don't drop a drink. That would be really embarrassing. The experienced drinker will hold the glass and just put their pinky under the base of the glass, like a little catcher to stop it. So if you slipped or you're
right.
You have your pinky there as a backup, and that's how we hold our phone. The pinky. I've heard people call it the load bearing finger, and yes, it is bearing load, but it also is just this. It's a backstop, isn't it? It's like it's the catcher, and I'm amazed that there are people who don't use. I'm trying it now. It does my head in. I know there's this other team, who say you don't put your pinky under the phone. It's like, what?
Well, that's the Syracuse stance, which normally I find myself agreeing with Syracuse, but this time I made a little video where I was trying to use the various methods to reach the corners of the screen, and just was completely incapable of doing it with any of the Syracuse recommendations. Yes, I have seen the iPhone 5 video. But I guess so I am aware that when I hold my wife's iPhone 5S, that yes, it rests on my pinky, but it's the same thing where I am not actively using the pinky in very, very much any way at all. Or I'm not actively using the pinky to move my phone up and down.
Oh, so it's only with the 6 that you start using the pinky to shove it around.
Yeah, so with the 6, I find that I have to use the pinky in 2 circumstances. One is to raise the phone a little bit so that I can type more comfortably, because to hit the keys that are closest to my hand is now slightly awkward. And then the one that I still can't quite do is to try to drop the phone as much as possible to be able to hit what for me is the top right corner. I don't know if I might be a little strange here. I am the only person I've ever met in real life who does this, and I only know one other person on the internet who does this. But I am right-handed, but I use my iPhone in my left hand exclusively.
Freak. I didn't know that, and you are a freak.
Is that freakish? I don't think it is. It's always felt really natural to me.
I'm just going to try and hold my phone in my left hand now. I mean, I do hold it in my left hand, on occasion if I'm like, if I've got a hot dog or a donut in my right hand. Mm-hmm. But, that would not be my default hand.
Yeah, so when I type one-handed on my phone, I'm using my left hand, even though I am right-handed, and it is almost impossible for me to imagine doing it in any other way.
I used to play cricket with a guy who bowled with his left hand, which is like pitching, and threw with his right hand. That is amazing, because they're almost two identical actions. Anyway, just want to share.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is that this basically, there's this problem for me where with my default grip, the middle of the phone is very easy to hit. But then the extremes of the top and the bottom, I have to shuffle it up or down with my pinky to be able to comfortably hit it in one way or another. And I'm just constantly aware of this as a thing that makes the phone a little bit more difficult to use. And that's why it has been on my mind. There are things that make this a more frustrating experience because, for example, on my phone, on my home screen, I only have 2 rows of icons when I turn on my phone. So it's 8 icons in total. But Apple does not allow you to arbitrarily place where these icons go. You have to fill the icons in from the top left to the bottom right.
Yeah.
And so this means the only icons I have, they are almost all, I need to have a little pinky drop action to hit them all very comfortably.
They're like marooned at the top of the screen.
That's exactly it. And if you do the little double tap thing, Apple will slide them down halfway on the screen. And every time I look at that, I think, why can't you just leave the icons in the middle? If I could put them anywhere that I would want, I would put them in the middle of my screen and I would be much happier. But no, they have to be at the top. I was even wondering, can somebody make or can I buy on the App Store a blank application, an application that does nothing except it has a transparent icon and no text, and just
just to force all the other ones down.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like I'm trying to do the count here. I would need about 12, 8 or 12. If somebody made 8 or 12 $1 blank icons, I would buy them today just to move my own app's icons halfway down the screen into the place where it is most comfortable.
They have to be invisible though. You won't just put fillers there like that.
No. I mean, God, some people have so many icons on their phone when they open their phone up. I don't understand. Yeah. I don't understand how they do it. I'm gonna throw Derek under the bus now.
All right, it's about time someone else got it.
I was very lucky enough to see Derek, he of Veritasium. Oh, I got it right that time. Derek came through London. It's one of the reasons why I love living in the city is every once in a while people I know happen to pass through. It's a great juncture point, and if I'm lucky, they come and see me. So I saw Derek. We had a nice afternoon chatting about stuff. But at one point, Derek handed me his phone, and I looked at it, and there were just pages and pages filled with icons. And I was just horrified by this. Yeah. I don't understand how people live like this. And Derek could see that I was revolted by looking at his phone and asked me, what was wrong. And I said, all of these icons are what's wrong. And then Derek said, oh, don't worry. I don't use most of them. Which to me is like my brain just could not handle this. And the thing is does not compute is Derek thought he was saying something that would improve the situation. But it just made it a million times worse. What do you mean? You have 5 pages of icons and you don't use most of them? In what world do you think that makes me feel better about all these icons? And I don't mean to pick on Derek here. It's just this is the most recent case where this has happened. But I always see this where people open up their phone and there's just a million icons and I don't use most of them. How do you live like that?
He might, but the one day he needs it, it needs to be there.
Yeah, but I have a ton of icons on my phone as well, and almost all of them live in a folder called rarely used. Right? Just shove them all in there so that they're not on your actual home screen, but if you happen to need them, they're installed on the phone.
You have a folder called rarely used, so you
Yes.
rarely use them, and yet it's still taking up space on your phone. Oh,
But it's not
you
taking
need to put them in, and you need to get rid of that.
You are just intentionally trying to provoke me now. I have a system. My system is very clear. There are 2 rows and 2 rows only allowed on the front of the phone.
Yeah.
So this is to help prioritize. What do you actually use the phone for all the time?
It's to enforce a workflow on you. It's not an aesthetic thing. It's to enforce a workflow.
It is also an aesthetic thing because nothing looks more hideous than an iPhone filled with icons. Especially now that the phones are bigger and you can have so many icons on there. I have always been, even before I decided on just limiting it to 2 rows, I have always been firmly in the belief that at the very least, the bottom row, the row directly above the dock, should be empty.
Yeah,
It should be clean of
I do
icons.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I just realized I haven't asked, and I think I'm slightly afraid to ask what your iPhone looks like. I don't actually know. I've never seen what your iPhone looks like. But you do leave that the bottom row has to be clearly, right?
The bottom row has to be clear. I have a high
goodness.
discipline on my first page, but I do have a couple of folders on my first page. So what I do is, like, for example, so it doesn't get crazy.
That's fine.
Yeah. So things like all my social media stuff, like Twitter and Facebook and Skype and all that sort of stuff, they all go into a folder on the front page. So they're not all in your face, but they are accessible from the front page. So yeah, I keep the bottom row clear, but also
Thank God.
But all the rows above that have to be filled. You can't have like a jagged end. It has to be like symmetrical.
Oh yeah, no, you can't have the jagged end at all.
What do you have as your background image on your phone? Do you have like an interesting image, or like seeing you've got all that space that is there? What fills all that empty space?
You probably laugh if I sent you my background image right now. I'm going to go back to Derek for a minute, again, continuing to throw him under the bus. When he handed me his phone as well, there was a picture of a kitty cat, right? There's like this cat that's just sitting in a basket for his lock screen and for his background. So I, like an idiot, said, "Oh, you got a cat?" No, this was just some stranger's cat. Somebody else, while Derek had handed them his phone, had taken a picture of their cat and then just set it as his lock screen and as his wallpaper. And he just left it. He never felt the need to change it. And I don't understand. I'm so sorry, Derek. I don't mean to bring all this up for the internet, but I just don't understand that. When iOS 7 came out, which was the first one that introduced all this translucency effect, so that your wallpaper then affects the way the rest of your apps look, I spent days, literally days, trying to find an acceptable background. Because now it was not just something that looks pretty, it has to be something that looks pretty and works well with the translucency.
Yeah.
I mean, I really must have dedicated, I don't know, 16 hours to the hunt for trying to find the perfect iPhone background. And in the end, I just had to give up because I was unable to find something that was adequate. And so I had to settle for something.
So you're laughing at Derek's image, but you spent 16 hours trying to choose an image and still didn't choose one.
But that's exactly it. This is why it's funny, because in some ways, Derek and I are very similar, and in some ways, we are not very similar at all. And with respect to the home screen selection, clearly Derek is on the more rational end of this spectrum, right? It's like borderlining on a mental disorder to spend that much time trying to select the perfect wallpaper for your background. But I could not let it go.
I'm not even sure about the borderline part there, but anyway.
Borderline, Brady, definitely borderline. Okay. But anyway, I have to say I was extremely happy because when iOS 8 came out, I thought, oh no, I feel this itch to let's try to solve the background issue. And I did put in a good afternoon, but I finally found an iPhone background that I am very, very happy with. But Derek laughed at me immediately when he saw my background and just said, really? Really? So my background is kind of an abstract black and dark gray pattern, but it is not a photograph of anything.
Okay.
What is your background?
My background image is a photograph of Mount Everest taken with my iPhone from Kalapata, which is a summit opposite Mount Everest, which affords the best view of Mount Everest you can get without being like a hardcore climber. So I'm quite proud of it. But it's it's not obtrusive. It's kind of because the sky is kind of purpley and the mountains are a bit purpley, and so it's kind of, I wouldn't call it abstract, but it also isn't something you look at and think, oh look, there's a photo of something really specific, like a person. It's quite.
That is also just an awesome achievement photograph. Like you took that at Everest. You know, like that photograph has more meaning than other photographs would.
True. I didn't mean it as a humble brag, but it totally is.
No, that's not a humble brag. You weren't putting yourself down in any way. That is not a humble brag. Not even close. Sorry.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it lacked the, but yeah, you're right. It was just a brag. It was just a brag.
It was just a brag. That's all it was. It was just a brag.
Did you just text me?
I did just text you, but
you've texted me your pattern
just so you could see what it looked like, in case you were that interested.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of what you've done there.
I wouldn't expect anybody else to be a fan, but for me, it totally works.
The problem is it's too sharply defined. Like the lines are too sharply defined, and it draws the eye. If it had a bit of soft focus over it, so all those sort of triangles that make up the pattern were not quite so distinct, I think it would work better. But I think they draw the eye a bit too much for mine.
This is getting to be a bit like our flags episode. We're going to describe for people things that would be much better if they could just see them.
All right, I'm gonna send you mine, but you will be upset, and the reason you'll be upset is because of all the red badges all over everything.
Oh no, you're not one of those people. You have red badges. Nobody gets a red badge except messages. Nobody gets a red badge.
You are not going to be happy with me. But I'll send you anyway just so you can see how Everest works.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I do see some people's phones where there's just red badges everywhere. And again, how do you live like this? I don't understand. I don't understand at all.
Don't be mad at me, but here they come. Or you're going to be really mad when you see the email. Anyway.
Well, your email, I'm used to that now, where you have 20,000 unread messages because I don't know why.
Part of the reason for the unread messages on my iPhone.
You're always full of a story about it. Oh, I love this. Okay. Brady's unread messages show as 7 ... 8. What does that even mean? How many digits are those ... hiding?
You actually need arrow notation to know how many unread emails I have. No, this is actually...
Hey, wait a minute. Have you not upgraded to iOS 8? You have a badge on your settings app.
Oh, no. I was hoping you wouldn't call me on that.
You haven't upgraded to iOS 8?
Look, this is the situation.
There's no situation.
I'm a bit worried, you see, because I got spooked by the bug with 8.01 or whatever.
The 8.01, yeah.
Yeah, I got spooked by that because I hadn't yet gone to 8, which in itself I know is wrong.
So what is your game plan here? You're just never going to upgrade?
No, yeah, I'll upgrade. Upgrading has big penalty. Well, on iPhone it never has, but every time I upgrade my operating system on my Mac, it costs me a fortune in buying software again. And I'm not even joking, because I use Avid, which isn't as Mac friendly as some other software, but I use it on a Mac. Every time I upgrade, my Avid stops working and I have to buy another one. It costs me a fortune.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but let's constrain this discussion to your phone.
Right.
So what's your game plan? You're just going to leave that red badge there, staring you in the face every day on your home screen, nonetheless, with the settings right there. Look at all these. Look at all these red things.
What do you think about Everest?
Yeah, the background is fine. I'm okay with that. I approve. You have a lot more folders than I would have thought. But all of these badges, I'm
going to do away with that bottom row, actually, because I don't need those things on there.
But you've got I can't believe you haven't upgraded to 8. I just don't. Derek hadn't upgraded to 8 either. I don't understand. I'm loving 8. I think 8 is really good.
I'm not an early adopter. I let other people take the bullet. I'm like a field marshal at the back, and I wait till all the soldiers have fallen on the field and all their bugs have happened and their phones have stopped working. And then when the coast is clear and everyone's happy, I triumphantly come through and upgrade then.
Okay, well, I'm letting you know we're on 8.02 now, and I'm giving you the all clear on this one. It's fine.
I need more than just the all clear from you. I'll get there.
Okay.
I'll get there.
Okay, you'll get there.
Eventually, I'll get so annoyed by the prompts coming up all the time on iTunes when I plug my phone in that I'll just deal with it.
Okay.
That's made you mad as well somehow, I'm aware, but
no, that's totally fine. I can't deal with this.
Showing you my iPhone or anything to do with my computer is a bit like my wife like looking through the rubbish and finding like McDonald's wrappers. Like it's like I always fear you seeing anything to do with my technology use because I know I'm going to get disapproving comments.
Yes, as you definitely have right now.
Anything else about the iPhone? You had about 1,000.
Oh, I did have 1,000 bullet points. Are you okay for just going on for a little bit longer? And then we'll stop.
Yeah, you've broken my spirit now.
I've broken your spirit. Okay. Yeah. So I guess. Yeah.
You
sorry.
put Brady 5S. Why did you put my name in the bullet points? That excites me.
Well, I was wondering because last time you mentioned that you were thinking of maybe upgrading to the 5S, and I was wondering if that was something you had thought any more about.
I have not given it a lot of thought. I think I need to. Well, I'm seeing you hopefully on Saturday.
Yeah. So, I'll see you on Saturday.
So I will have a look at your phone then.
Okay.
If you allow me.
Well, you can look at it while it's locked.
Yeah. I wouldn't. Yeah. Yeah. I gave Brady my phone for 3 minutes. He deleted all my accounts. My channel's gone.
Yeah. I don't hand people my unlocked phone. I mean, that's, you know.
I mean, if you're more comfortable, maybe you could just give me a piece of cardboard cut to the same shape. But yeah, I have not made a decision about upgrading. But upgrading is imminent, surely, because my battery lasts like about 3 seconds. It feels like sometimes.
Oh yeah. So that actually that just reminds me of the one thing. So I have been testing out the phone, and you know, one of the things that I thought was interesting just about the larger size, and this is why I'm so conflicted, right? Because I've been complaining about it on the last podcast and now sort of on this podcast. But I definitely do like the bigger screen, and it totally fits with what I was kind of hoping, which is that the slightly bigger screen actually means it's a lot easier for me to do some of the work that I do on the phone. So like one of the things that I will sometimes do is there's like a cafe that is a kind of convenient and nice 25-minute walk from where I live. And sometimes when I'm kind of stuck on something, I just go for a walk and I take my phone with me, and then I get a coffee. And I like to be able to sit down and just, I didn't bring a bag or anything, but work on something if I've thought about it while I was on the walk. And on my iPhone 5S, I was just always aware that the screen was a little too small for some of that stuff, but the 6 is definitely way better. So I do have to give it a thumbs up for the bigger screen. And that is why I kept debating about getting the 6 Plus, because I thought, well, if the bigger screen is nice, even a biggest screen is even better. But again, that phone is kind of ridiculous.
That seems pretty important. That seems pretty fundamental. Like all this talk about having to, you know, shimmy this or shimmy that. Surely sitting down and using it for work is a pretty big deal.
Yeah. So
are those little shimmy moments when you just use it for a few seconds more important than those big sessions when you sit down at Starbucks and spend 20 minutes on it? Which is a more important use?
This is exactly it. This is why I feel so conflicted, because I have definitely been getting a decent amount of real actual work done on my phone. And that is, I've never really been that kind of person, but the little bit of a screen size increase has definitely made that much more possible. Although Apple still always gets you, because when I sit down to use my phone, I always use it in landscape mode. And then it is a very perfect size for me to hold, to 2-thumb type and to use. But Apple does not let you rotate the phone into landscape mode in the same way they do on the 6 Plus. So on the 6 Plus, when you turn it sideways, the phone understands, oh, I'm sideways. It rotates all of the icons and it sets itself up for proper landscape mode. Whereas the iPhone 6 refuses to acknowledge landscape mode. So I find myself using the phone in this dumb sideways position. When I go back to the home screen, all the icons are sideways. And if I use the spotlight search, it's sideways, and I have to type briefly the first couple letters sideways. And that is just incredibly infuriating. And this is the kind of thing that for people who don't like Apple, this is exactly the sort of thing that they always point to. Apple doesn't give you the choice as to whether or not you want to let the phone rotate to landscape orientation. Apple makes the choice for you.
Nanny state.
Yeah. So I do have sympathy for the people who, like, if you have a certain personality type, Apple will drive you up the wall with these kinds of decisions where you feel like, why can't I change this setting on my phone? And this is one of these times where it is just infuriating to me. But using the phone in this landscape way is super helpful. So I have this kind of feeling of dread that I am just going to be forever more stuck in this kind of in-betweeny state with the phone, where I'm always going to feel like it is just a little too big for one-handed use, but then also quite happy when I sit down somewhere to dedicatedly use the phone on purpose. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I am concerned about my future with iPhones and being perfectly happy, which is what I would like to be.
These are, yeah. What else you got there? What else is on your list? Dreaded pocket reshuffle.
Oh.
Did you step on something?
No, but this, I can't believe our conversation might have ended without this. Okay. Now I have to promise that I don't sound like a crazy person here, but
you started sounding a crazy person around that 16-hour photo thing. Ever since then, I've just given up.
Okay, so here is this is like the major problem in my life right now. I have a very specific set of items that I keep in my pockets, and they live in very specific places. It's like, like as a man, when you're leaving the house, you do the kind of tap down. You tap your front pockets or your back pockets or whatever it is, so you've got everything you need.
Yep.
Okay. So it's for a long time, it has been very clear what I have is tap. Okay. Front left pocket has iPhone because I use it with my left hand.
Yep.
And it has two other items in it. It has a regular pen and it has a stylus. So that's front left pocket. Front left pocket. Front right pocket, I have keys and I have wallet is in front right pocket.
Yep.
And depending on the day, sometimes I have a notebook in my back pocket, but usually not. Usually the back pockets are empty because you need to sit down and you don't need to sit down on an uneven surface. Yeah. For years, I used to have my wallet in my back pocket. And then I just made a dedicated change and said, no wallet, you're going to go in the front pocket. And this is obviously a superior experience, although it took a hell of a long time to get used to, let me tell you. That was a several-month transition where I wasn't constantly tapping my back pocket and thinking, oh, God, someone stole my wallet. Oh, no, it's in my front pocket.
But now you move to a superior pocket experience.
Yes. This is a much superior pocket experience. Except here's the thing. Here's the real problem, Brady. The iPhone 6 is just big enough that it makes it untenable to have it in the same pocket with the two pens.
Yeah.
So now the two pens need to go somewhere. Where are these pens going to go?
I don't know.
Pens can't go in the back pockets now, can they?
No.
So there's only one option, which is the front right pocket.
Yeah.
But the front right pocket.
What about your shirt pocket? Take the step, Gray. You're already pretty nerdy. Take the step. Get the pocket protector. Do it.
You don't even want to have a discussion with me about shirt pockets. We'll be here. It's already been a long time. We'll be here for a lot.
Only you would say is you don't want to have a discussion with me about shirt pockets. Oh,
for the moment, let's just assume that shirt pocket is not available.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I don't know who Ed and Center is, but I know a lot about shirt pockets.
Okay, so where are the pens going to go? The only place they can possibly go is front right pocket. But front right pocket has keys, wallet, and pens. It's entirely too busy in front right pocket. Sometimes there's also coins in there as well.
Screwed up receipt.
Yeah, this is all kinds of terrible.
Dog poo bags, if you're me.
That is disgusting.
Not with poo in them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They're in the back. They're in the back pocket.
Yeah, I was thinking tiny Chihuahua poo can fit in your front pocket.
Oh no, Lulu's the problem there. The greyhound.
Yeah. And so the problem is, do I have to move my wallet back to one of the back pockets? Because something has to give from that front pocket.
I mean, the nostalgia of that would be nice, but I think that would be a retrograde step. I mean, you've moved to the superior pocket experience. I don't think you can. Yeah. I don't think you can go back.
I can't go back. No, I obviously.
You are the man. You are the man who describes books as dead trees. What on earth are you doing with a pen in the first place?
The pen is surprisingly handy, but even if I tried, because the pen is the least frequently used object, so I thought, okay, let me try it without the pen. It actually doesn't help, because just the stylus and the iPhone is still too much.
Why have you got a stylus? Because surely if you've got stylus, you need it for your iPad. If you've got your iPad, can't you store the stylus where you're storing the iPad?
You forget that I have my stylus, I have my iPads with me all the time. The problem is, I've too often run into the situation where I don't have the stylus when I need it. So I need to know that I always have it with me. This is why it needs to be in a pocket.
You need to know where your stylus is, definitely.
We can talk about my redundant bag system sometime. Just to start going into super levels of crazy, because this is just the beginning. Right?
Do you know what I love?
What?
That although you know how crazy this makes you sound, it fills you with so much joy. You keep going anyway because you just love it.
No, it's not joy. I want to have this settled and clear, and this occupies my mind intensely. And so ever since I got this iPhone 6, every morning it's like my pocket system is thrown into utter disarray. I don't know what to do. And I don't just have the clear habit of it, just everything goes in the right pockets and I don't even think about it. Now I have to think about this every morning. And it's like, oh, well, depending on what jacket I have, maybe I'll put my phone in the jacket. And it's disaster. You need a system that is the same every morning. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I have always absolutely hated wallets. Just needing to carry a wallet has always made me very angry. I don't like all the things in the wallet. Yeah. And now I find myself just furious at the existence of a wallet. Like, why do I need to carry you, wallet? I don't like this at all. I don't like all the cards that I have to have in here. And now I'm having this crisis of there's no place to put the wallet. It's not going to go in my back pocket. I don't know how to rearrange all of these things. Just the pocket reshuffle is something that the iPhone 6 has forced upon me, and it has made me extremely, extremely grumpy, and I don't know what to do.
Doesn't the wallet make you feel give you a nice man feeling though? Like, I remember when I was a boy, I was so jealous of my dad's wallet. I dreamed of the day where I needed a wallet, to the point where, you would have a wallet even when you had no money or cards, because you wanted to be like your dad.
Yeah, exactly. Every young boy has done that exact same thing. You get a wallet and then you think, I have no money to put inside this. Yeah. But now I feel grown up.
Yeah. So having a wallet is it's a rite of passage. I guess the novelty has worn off now.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
No,
fair enough.
When you're in your 30s, okay, now I don't need to carry this thing. And I've always hated the wallet. And this is why I also look at the iPhone 6 and I think, man, you can't bring on these mobile payments fast enough for me. Because honest to God, I go through my wallet every couple of months and just obsessively try to think about how many more items I can possibly remove from this wallet. And on the occasions when I can reduce the number of cards that I carry by one, that is an enormous celebration. Or honest to God, when I quit my teaching job, one of the greatest pleasures of that was I was able to remove 3 keys from my key ring. And I thought, this is great. I'm constantly trying to get these things down to the smallest number possible.
This whole conversation is such a good example of why my wife secretly wishes that she was married to you. Because you are her perfect man. I have so many keys, and my wife says, what on earth are all those keys for? And she's just what does that one do? And I have a few keys that I don't know what they do. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to take them off my keyring because one day I might remember, or they might be important or something. So, I have a few keys and I just don't know what they are, but I just carry them on my keyring anyway. And okay. And every time we leave the house, I can never find my wallet or my phone or my keys, and I never know where they are. Because I don't have like a set place.
No, you have to set a landing pad for those objects.
Well, I don't have that. Well, yes, okay, now you're sounding exactly like my wife. She's like, you should have... And I'm like, oh, where are they? They could be here or there.
No, there can only be one place where they can be. They are there or they are on you right now. The place doesn't matter. You just pick a place.
No, that's not how I work.
When next time I'm at your house, I'm going to pick a place for you.
Okay. I won't. But I just can't.
But you'll just totally ignore it.
Yeah, it's not like I don't see the. I'm just not a creature of habit and routine. I'm just not. I can't do routine. It's not like I think I'm like James Dean, Mr. Rebel, and no one can tame me.
I'll put my wallet anywhere.
Yeah, it's not that. It's just
so
that
cool.
I'm just not a routine guy. I just don't have. I just don't have routine. You know, I envy you that sometimes.
Yeah, but you can also see that the same kinds of things which you were saying are enviable. I also clearly become a prisoner of these thoughts, right?
Yes, of course.
Of basically taking everything out of my wallet like I'm field stripping a gun, laying all the parts out in front of me on a table, staring at them and thinking, is there any way that I can reduce 2 of these to 1 of these?
I went on a trip recently. Well, it wasn't recently. It was that Vietnam trip that we spoke about around the time the podcast started. And there was an older chap on the bus with us, and he was a top guy, but he had this one idiosyncrasy where he was obsessed with counting money, and he had all this Vietnamese currency, so he had quite a high. The numbers were quite high because the nature of the currency. So you've got thousands and thousands of
right.
whatever. I can't even remember what the currency was, but every 10 minutes he would have to count how much there was. How much he had, and then we'd be poodling along on the bus. We wouldn't have even been out of the bus. He can't have spent the money, and he'd have to just count it again. He just had to count it to know for sure what it was.
Well, that's clinical OCD now.
Yeah, but you could wind him up too, so he'd count it.
Oh, great!
Be happy.
Yeah,
and then you'd say, "Are you
nice.
sure? Are you sure that's what it was?" And then he'd have to get it out and like count it again.
That's great. That's great. They're kicking someone while they're down. If someone has actual OCD, you don't want to, let me just inject a tiny bit of doubt into their mind. Won't that be funny? Did you really turn the stove off?
That's inappropriate. You're right.
But like I said, this stuff circles my latest project, which every time I come home, I think about, and I try to put this out of my mind. But I look at my door and I realize, well, I could get rid of 2 keys on my key ring. Because you can buy these door bolts that are activated by your iPhone, by proximity to the iPhone. And so I keep thinking, should I get one of these things on the door? Now, the problems are that I don't own the apartment that I'm in. I'm renting this place. And I'm trying to do the calculations of what are the likelihood of the owners of the place noticing that I have swapped out the keys. It's like before I'm actually going to leave this place. I'm trying to think, could I get a locksmith to come and install the wireless door bolts and then also leave me the bolts and then replace them before I move out? All of this just to reduce 2 keys from my key ring. But I cannot tell you how pleasurable it would be to be able to take those final 2 keys off and be like, screw you guys. I don't need to carry you around every day of my life anymore. I've moved on to the future with a superior wireless locking technology.
All right. I'm not going to say what I want to say because I know what will happen. Let me ask another question though.
Yeah.
What if your phone goes dead?
I have redundant systems in place to have that covered.
Yeah.
So I have the ability to charge my phone outside of my house. You have to have redundant systems in a case like that. And also many of these, not all of them, but many of the locking systems have a fallback numeric punch code that you can also use.
Yeah, of course.
So that is a possibility as well. But yes, I do want to make sure that there's a way that I can always charge my phone.
I'll say it.
Home.
I'll say it.
What?
Isn't there something nice about keys?
Ah.
They're just nice. They're nice things. They're nice objects.
No.
You don't think the key is just a nice object and there's some... taking away, there's something satisfying about using a key. They're just a nice thing. They're like they're kind of pretty and they've got like a heritage and they're kind of associated with mystery and safes and unlocking and code breaking and all stuff and like they're just... Keys are nice things. Like when I go to like antiques fairs and stuff, I just love looking at old keys, and I don't want a world without keys.
Is this why you have all of these keys that you carry around? You have bought random keys at antique stores and then added them to your key ring, and then you forget later on which are the real keys and which are not the real keys. Is that why you have some janitorial ring with 50 keys on it? Is that what's going on?
You just reminded me of something. I mean, this has got nothing to do with what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. I was listening to one of our old podcasts the other day, and I spend so much time talking to people from different countries and stuff. I tend to think that the novelty of language has gone away. And you said something that made me realize you're American and I'm not. Mm-hmm. You referred to a janitor. Mm-hmm. And when you said that, and I was listening to that, I was like, wow, that's like, he's American and I'm not. And that's the first, I think that's one of the first times in years that I've spoken to one of my American friends and had that feeling.
What word would you use?
I don't know, cleaner or something like that. Not the word janitor. And there was just something about the way you said it. It was when we were talking about Black Mirror, and you were talking about the janitors.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, yeah, he's different to me. He uses language differently sometimes. You just reminded me. I meant to bring it up. I meant to bring it up like about 4 or 5 times, and I kept forgetting. And you just said janitorial, so it just reminded me.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
I am indeed an American.
Yeah,
or was born and raised in America.
You were. Just saying. It was just a little thing. I've just been meaning to bring it up. I'm sorry I like keys. I'm sorry that the iPhone's a bit big for you. I don't know the solution to your pocket problem. I think it's probably unnecessary for you to have the stylus in your pocket and unnecessary for you to have a pen, and whatever you're using to carry around your iPad, which you say is always with you, I suggest you put your pen and your stylus in that thing. Is it some kind of backpack or bag you carry? I don't know, but that's where you should put those rather than your pocket. It's not a good idea to have a pen in your pocket anyway, because if it leaks, you're going to get ink all over your trousers.
I have been carrying a pen in my pocket for 10 years.
Yeah?
I don't think I've ever had a single leak.
Well, it could happen tomorrow.